and as one single unit they dropped down behind the enemy, knives severing spinal columns right at the base of the neck. Viktor spun toward the two extra men Reaper and Savage had taken, but both were already falling, almost in slow motion. Crouching low, Viktor jumped for the edge of the wall, drew himself up and ran along the beam back toward the training room, his stomach in tight, hard knots. The rage slowly burning in his belly began to churn and roil. He loathed seeing the young women so beat down they didn't move when man after man was brought in. But the training, the rapes and beatings, always threw him back to his childhood. If he could have, he would have wiped every member of the Swords from the face of the earth. "Viktor," Absinthe touched his arm, stopping him. "Let us this time. You always take the training room." Viktor didn't respond. He couldn't. There was no way he would stay behind while the others risked their lives to do the very thing he had vowed to do: stop Evan Shackler Grotzos from selling women and children. Reaper and Savage took up positions on either side of him. Viktor peered down at the scene taking place in the room below. In spite of the fact that the Swords were expecting trouble, they were still training the new girls. Training equaled beating, raping, and intimidating them over and over. He had seen the scenario played out again and again, and by now he felt he should be immune to all emotion, or at the very least numb to it. But he wasn't. The sight not only made him sick to his stomach, but that slow, burning rage in his belly blossomed into a churning storm. Viktor couldn't stand to see the bruised, swollen faces of the young girls, or the hopeless, vacant looks in their eyes as they lay waiting for the next faceless man to use them and then leave them to their fate. For a moment, he closed his eyes against the sight, and immediately he was flooded with images from his childhood, that same hopeless look on so many faces. The rage went from a fiery inferno to a full-blown volcanic fury. He didn't look at the men with him. He couldn't. Like him, they would have nightmares. Like him, he knew somewhere inside of them was the same fury toward the kind of human beings who could commit these types of violent acts against children and young men and women. 7 young girls somewhere between the ages of 11 and 15 lay on dirty mattresses in the corner, crying softly, trying to muffle the sounds while a 4-man team assaulted an 8th girl. That girl looked like a baby to him, a girl no more than 11 or younger. She had fought, but there was no fight left in her. None. Still, they didn't save her. The men surrounding her didn't let up. All of the girls showed signs of beatings and rape. There was shock in their eyes, on their faces, and most looked hopeless already. 3 were fighters, and 1 in particular looked as if she'd tried several times to stop the assault on the girl they were training. Even as he watched, she tried again and was beaten back with fists. When she went down, 1 man kicked her hard in the stomach, and Viktor winced for her, his gaze narrowing on the man as he went back to join the others raping the youngest girl. Viktor, Reaper, Savage, and Absinthe dropped fast, directly behind the enemy, while ice and storm covered them from above. The man Viktor had selected as his target must have seen the flare of hope or shock in the eyes of his victim, because he started to turn. His jeans were down around his ankles, and he tripped, falling into the man next to him. Before he could make a sound, Viktor slammed his knife right through the man's throat, and then withdrew the blade and slashed the jugular on either side. Savage put his finger to his lips, facing the girls. Still, 2 of the younger ones cried out. 1 girl, the fighter, hastily crawled to them and put a hand over their mouths. "We'll get you out of here," Viktor assured. "We have to get rid of the ones guarding the place. Keep them quiet and wait for someone to give you the all-clear. You understand?" His hands were gentle as he pulled the young girl out from under the 4 dead men and carried her to the girl who had fight left in her. "Zoe," the fighter whispered, tears in her eyes. She cradled the young girl to her, rocking her gently back and forth. Zoe didn't respond.